Yeah. Live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. We got another story for you from the collection of The People Could Fly. Today we are reading The Peculiar Such Thing. When I was young, my dad always used to say, or if you said like funny, haha, funny, peculiar was always a funny word. Okay, so today's tale is a tale told in modern dialect. The peculiar such thing is considered by some to be a fairy tale that can be traced to English fairy tales. The tale teller had fun with ghosts and didn't take them too seriously. However, this Black American version has a fright or horror tactic to it that gives more of the feeling of a ghost tale, with the quote unquote thing returning for its missing part. The repetition of Telipo, give me back my Telipo depends upon the teller's voice for its frightening effect. So I gotta get into my horror scary bag. Wish me luck. The peculiar such thing. A long time ago, way off in the high, piney woods, lived a fellow all alone. He lived in a one room log cabin. There was a big old fireplace, and that is where this fellow cooked his supper to eat it right in front of the fire. One night, after the fellow had cooked and ate his supper, something crept through the cracks of the cabin logs. That something was the most peculiar thing the fellow ever saw. And it had a great, big, long tail. And as always, Nubs has entered the chat. Un segundo. Numbers. Hush your face. He always got to make an appearance. As soon as the fellow saw that something with its great, big, long tail, he reached for his axe. With a swooping strike with it, he cut the something's tail clean off. The peculiar such thing crept away through the cracks between the logs and was gone. This fellow, like he had no sense, he cooked the great big long tail. Yes, he did. It tasted sweet and he ate it. Goodness. And then he went to bed, and in a little while he went off to sleep. The fellow hadn't been asleep very long before he woke right up again. He heard something climbing up the side of his cabin. It sounded mighty like a cat. He could hear it scratching and tearing away, and pretty soon he heard it say, "Taily po, taily po, give me back my taily po." Now, the fellow living there all alone did have some dogs. Big one was best, and the other two slight ones was all right and fair. And when that fellow heard something, he called his dogs, "Yeah, dogs, come on," like that. And his dogs come flying out from under the cabin, and they chased the peculiar such thing away down a far piece. Then this fellow went back on to bed. He went to sleep. It was deep in the middle of the next night when the fellow woke up. He heard something by his front door trying to get in. He listened hard and he could hear it scratching and tearing away. And he heard it say, "Taily po, taily po, give me back my taily po." Fellow sat up in his bed. He called his dogs, "Yo, you, best, you, all right, you, fair, come on in," like that. And the dogs busted around the corner, and they caught up with the peculiar such thing at the gate, and they about broke their own tails trying to catch it. This time they chased what it was down to the big hollow there. And the fellow, well, he went back to bed and went to sleep. It was way long toward morning. The fellow woke up and he hears something down in the big swamp. He had to listen. He heard it say, "You know you got it. I know you. Give me back my taily po." The man sat up in bed. He called his dogs, "You the best, you all right, and you fair. Yo, come on in here." Well, this time, the dogs never come. The thing down there in the hollow must have carried them off in there. It must have eaten the first one. Says, "That's best." It eaten the other two. Says, "That ain't but all right and fair." And the fellow went back to bed. Don't see how he could sleep again, but he didn't know how bad off his dog was by then. Well, it was just daybreak. The fellow was awake, scared. He didn't know why. Must have heard something right there with him in the room. It sounded like a cat climbing up the covers at the foot of his bed. He listened. He could hear it scratching and tearing away. The fellow looked at the foot of his bed. He's seeing two little pointy ears coming up over the edge of the bed. In another minute, he's seeing two big, scary red eyeballs looking straight at him. He can't say nothing. He can't scream. He's too scared to death. That peculiar such thing at the foot of the bed kept on creeping up, creeping up. By and by, it was right on top of the fellow, and it said in his face in a real low voice, "Taily po, taily po, give me back my taily po." That man loses his voice, loses his power of speech, but finally he can say it. Says, "I hasn't got it. I hasn't got your taily po." And that something that was there, that peculiar such thing, says right back, "Yes, you has." It jumped on that fellow and it was fierce. Its big teeth tore at him, made him ribbons. They say it got its taily po back. Fellow's cabin fall to ruin. It rot, crumble, and it disappeared. Nothing left to it in the big woods but the place where it was. And the folks that live near that place say that deep in the night, when the moon is going down and the wind blows across the place just right, you can hear some peculiar such thing calling, "Taily po, taily po," like that. And then the sound of it do just fade away with the moonlight, like it never even ever was. The end. I like these ones. They be setting the scene, you feel me? They be like, ooh. Alrighty, y'all. Ooh, so next week we have the beginning of this section, which is John and the Devil's Daughter, and other tales of the supernatural, which is what the section we've been reading. And this one's a little long one, so y'all gonna have to get nice and cozy. We got several story pages for this one. Appreciate y'all hanging out with me. Hope y'all enjoyed those Black American folk tales. If you'd like to hire me, Symba Luna, for voice acting or narration for your album, your podcast, your interlude, anything at all, please feel free to email me at the symbalunashow@gmail.com, which will be in the description below. And I will see y'all next week for another story time. Peace.